Russia's ready to pull out of the START nuclear arms reduction treaty if the U.S. continues with its plans to deploy a missile defense shield in Europe. President Dmitry Medvedev warned that Moscow may move its own offensive missile systems to its borders in response. Artizani Sanawi reports.
Some very harsh and direct words from President Medvedev on the development of plans for the U.S., NATO, and their Eastern European allies to build and develop that missile defense shield in Eastern Europe, just outside Russia's border. He pointed out 5 steps that the Russian Federation would take if NATO, the U.S., and its allies don't reconsider. First off, early missile warning systems will be immediately activated in Kaliningrad, which is Russia's most western enclave, just outside, just across the border, I should say, from the plans for that missile defense shield. Also, the country's strategic nuclear forces will be strengthened significantly. The president said that that needs to happen urgently. And also, the armed forces has been notified that it needs to create a system that would be able to destroy data exchange and the control systems of that missile defense shield in Eastern Europe. Like I said, once again, it can't be stressed enough, just outside Russia's border. If all of those steps aren't enough for NATO and its allies to reconsider, this would be Russia's last resort.
If other measures are insufficient, Russia will deploy contemporary strike systems in the west and south in order to prevent fire damage from U.S. missile systems deployed in Europe. The deployment of the Iskander missile system in the Kaliningrad region will be one such step. If the situation develops in an unfavorable way, Russia will reserve the right to cease further steps in the area of disarmament and arms control. Moreover, given the inextricable link between strategic, offensive and defensive weapons, reasons could emerge for Russia's withdrawal from the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. This is envisioned within the content of the treaty.
It has to be pointed out that President Medvedev once again stressed that it's not too late, that Russia does believe that dialogue can help to reach some kind of agreement that satisfies both sides in terms of missile defense. The START treaty, the latest one, of course, signed in April 2010, hailed as a tremendous step in the reset. So if Russia were to withdraw from that treaty, it would be a huge step back in terms of Russia-U.S. relations. President Medvedev once again said that we need legally binding guarantees that those systems are not positioned against us. They're practically surrounded from Europe down to the Middle East and then up across their eastern seaboard in the Pacific in terms of bases in Japan and South Korea. So Russia saying that they need more guarantees than just the U.S. and its allies saying, you just have to trust us. So Russia and the West very much moving in different directions. Russia feels that if the U.S. and NATO can't meet eye to eye with them, they have every right to create their own system and protect their national interests.
Artizani Sanawi reporting there. Political analyst Alexander Pavlich says that a one-sided defense system is a dangerous prospect which could lead to disastrous consequences for Europe.
Once one side has missile defense, it may encourage that side to actually launch a first strike. So this kind of movement, these kinds of threats actually increase the chance of nuclear war, or even accidental nuclear war, not even deliberate. This is something that's very dangerous for Europe itself, for Western Europe especially. We're talking about rogue states. They're all outside of Europe. Russia has been proposing to do a joint missile defense. They'll be based much down to the south, let's say around Azerbaijan, Turkey. Now, if you have missile defense over Europe, you know what happens? You intercept a missile over Europe, you're endangering a densely populated continent for some reasons which are not being made clear to anybody. So this has a double or triple danger, what's going on right now.
For its part, Washington says it won't alter its plans to deploy a NATO missile defense system in Eastern Europe. The White House insists that the shield isn't meant to be a strategic deterrent to Russia. Artis Ganech-Chikan has the details.
The U.S. is not planning on making any changes to its missile defense system in Europe. We heard this from National Security Council spokesman Tony Viter. He said, we will continue to work with Russia to define the parameters of possible cooperation. However, in pursuing this cooperation, we will not in any way limit or change our deployment plans in Europe. He also said the U.S. missile defense system is designed to reflect a growing threat to our allies from Iran that we are committed to deterring. We have explained to Russian officials that the missile defense system planned for deployment in Europe do not and cannot threaten Russia's strategic deterrent. Well, NATO Secretary General made a statement along the same lines, but clearly Russians have a different analysis of the situation. What's interesting, many U.S. media outlets go with headlines like this one: Russia may target U.S. missile defense sites. And in those headlines, it's all looking very intimidating, but not often do the U.S. media mention that for Russia, it's a last resort. And President Medvedev made it clear that Russia would rather not deploy new missiles and go into an arms race. But the fact that the U.S. has rejected all of Russia's missile defense proposals doesn't leave Moscow much choice.